Greetings and welcome to CS133 Practical Programming with Python. This is week 3. This is the project. This is our guessing game. So if you remember, we already did a little bit of this last week when we created our variables and got our inputs and then printed them out. This time we're actually going to add the game pieces. Now that we know our logic and our loops, we can actually go through this. So let's just go ahead and go line by line, putting this all together. Alright, so again, we got the user input, we got their name, we got their guess. There are going to be some changes. We are going to bump that guess up to 100. And we're going to need to create a few different pieces. So first we got to get an answer. And then we have to create a tries, because in this one we're actually going to tell them how many tries it took for them. So let's go ahead and do both of those. So answer is a good variable name for the answer. We'll see in a little bit when we do the while loop. Answer equals, and let's do 34. Again, eventually this will become random. For now, we're just putting in a number. And then tries equals 1. All right, and we'll see why this is in a little bit, because technically they've already guessed. So tries is 1. Now we get to the while statement. Right, we've all the setup we need. We get the user guess, we have the answer, started counting the tries. Now we're going to while loop. So basically, while their answer is not correct, so while answer does not equal guess. Again, a great example of why we didn't use user num, num1, num2, while the answer is not equal to the guess, right? While you don't have the correct answer, keep looping. So that makes it really easy to say it when you use variables that make it work very well. So pretty much we're going to say if it's too high, we're going to print too high. If it's too low, we'll do low, and then we'll ask them for another guess and increment up. So let's go ahead and do that. If the guess is guess is greater than the answer, right? So if they guess too high, guess is greater than the answer. If they guess too high, print you guess too high. All right, now we're going to go back out of this. Else, if, oh, that's right. Elif the guess is less than the answer, then they guess too low. So I'm just going to copy this over. Guess too low. So if the guess is less than the answer, they get, that makes sense. They guess too low, so why it's good to have these variable names. Enter, backspace. Now, the next two pieces are ask another guess and then increment. So answer equals, not answer, guess equals, right? Because we're asking for a new guess, we got to reset the guess. Input guess again, and then tries plus equals 1. That will make it go up. That's the same as saying tries equals tries plus 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2 after you guess the second time, because we just guessed. And this is also a good thing to make sure you put it after their guess, so you can see that they guessed, and it goes up by 1. All right. Now hopefully you see an issue with what we have so far. Like if I run this, we're going to have an issue. And it's going to be that guess is never going to equal answer, because all inputs are strings. So guess is a string, which works great here because you're concatenating a string with a string. However, answer is a number. So, and if we want to be able to figure out if it's too high or too low, we need to make guess an integer. Guess needs to be an integer. So all of these places we have guess, we need to change it to an integer. Now, this is going to be a string, which is fine because when it comes back up here, it'll turn it to an integer. So we're not changing it here or there. All right, let's just go ahead and run this to see how we're doing. Enter your name, enter your guess, 50. Thank you for your guess. You guessed 50. You guessed too high. Guess again. All right, let's do 23. You guessed too low. All right, so let's get the right answer, which is 34. Enter. And then it ends the program, which makes sense because that's all we have. So finally, we're just going to tell them how many guesses they have and thank them for playing. So print, thank you for playing. You guessed plus many times. Alright, so let's add some spaces, right? And inside of this, we're going to put tries, but tries is an integer, so we actually need to change it to a string so we can print it. So print, thank you for playing. You guessed, space, concatenate this as a string many times. So let's run this one more time. Name is mine, guess a number, 23, 32. It should be too low. It says we're too low. Okay, let's do 50 again. We're too high. That's 2 guesses. 34 is the answer. If you're playing, you guessed 3 times. We guessed 3 times. Our program is fully functioning. We now have all of the pieces. So again, make sure if you want to turn this in correctly, you click copy, and then it'll have a little green button down here. Move over to that. You can also just copy this code, create a new trinket, go home, create a new trinket. Whatever you need, just make sure you get this turned in, and then we'll make modifications next week with what we learned that week. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.